1, 2, 3. Oh no!
4,
I can hear Chris.
5. Man, I spent hours of my life stomping Koopas.
I hadn't had Chris muted. I muted you mid count.
Yep,
I think we're
same.
good.
Yep,
Okay,
I saw it on your face too. That I was like, we both just had to do that like midstream of like. Huh,
I know you did. I gotta keep you on your toes.
That's good. Console Crusade podcast. Boy, I have a rant or two in me today. EJ Olson with Nick Durheim
Hello.
and Chris Gilly for
back freshly into the country from 3 days in Montreal, celebrating my buddy Russell, his bachelor weekend. We had a good time. I'm very tired.
Eventually you will have a weekend at home, not on a plane somewhere. And not this weekend, not next weekend.
Nope, not the next 2 weeks.
But eventually.
But eventually. I keep adding shit though. I was like looking at I'm in the Midwest. I'm like, I want to go see some of these like historic college football venues. Like I want to go see a game at the Horseshoe at Ohio State. I want to go to the Big House, and see a game at Michigan. I'm like, God damn it. Like all these weekends are stacking up so fast, but the prices are so reasonable.
It's too much, man. Sarah, we were sitting down watching TV last night, and she's looking at her calendar, and she's like, can we stay home next weekend? Mind you, we haven't left. We've been home for the last several weekends, but she's just so stressed about not being home. Like, she's like, I just need another weekend before we go up and deal with family. And here you are just, when's the last time you had time at home that you weren't working?
Man, I don't know.
Not for me.
I've been doing fun stuff though, like, hanging with buddies, and like Montreal is such a sick city. Like I'd never been to French Canada. I've been to Vancouver a few times, but
Doesn't even count.
it felt like being in Europe. Like honest to God, it felt like being in Europe, but I'm just like barely over the US border. I don't know. It was a very excellent time. I'm probably not going to look at alcohol again for like a week.
Oh, that long. Wow.
Proud of you, buddy.
Like a monk over here.
Yeah.
Hey, on the weighted scale of Chris and the sauce,
A real teetotaler.
a week of me just being like, no, I can't. Except for this, but this is hair of the dog. I need it.
Oh, buddy. Spoken like a teacher, that's for sure.
I have some students listening to the podcast now. They were like, oh, we're bored on a drive. Wait, what was the name of that podcast Chris is on? And they watched the Ouya episode.
Popular topic.
Nick, have I talked to you since I discovered the Trader Joe's sparkling water? Did we talk
Yes.
about
I think
Okay.
I think you mentioned it last week.
Okay, dude, had to go to Trader Joe's and get literally like 7 cases, like the whole pallet that they come on, shrink wrapped with all. It's like 6 to a case plus the last one they had on the shelf. I just bought them all, dude. I was like, I gotta stock up. I can't run out. But I'm drinking so much sparkling water now that it's like, I mean, it has to be taking a toll on my health, right?
Yeah, I don't know how the GI handles all that CO2.
Yeah, right. And boy, have I had some GI problems. I'll tell you that for free.
Yeah, GI Joe over here.
I had me a surgery last week that I've been recuperating from, which hasn't been too bad. The anxiety was worse than the whole affair for the most part, but I'm alive so far. I gotta tell you, I thought that I would be waking up and experiencing like the ultimate high for an hour or 2 or 3 hours. They woke me up and I was up. The doctor was sitting there talking to me. I was shaking my head. I was like, yep, great, perfect. Sarah comes in. The nurse is going through her rigmarole, and she's got a whole process she has to do. And I'm like, no, I'm good. Let me put on my underwear, please. I stand up. She gives me a fucking candy bar. And I'm like, all right. She's like, all right, I'm going to bring the wheelchair. I'm like, I don't need a wheelchair. We got home. I made a few calls. I cooked dinner. They were like, you need to either walk or lay. And so I was like, well, I guess I'll get my steps in, like putzing around the house. And I was like, totally, I remember everything. I was like, I wasn't high at all. What a ripoff.
Man, I'm supremely jealous of that experience. It's like coming out of mine, I was like groggy. I was in a ton of pain. I was like, no, give me the good pain pill. I was pissed off at the doctor because he said he wasn't going to do anything on the right side of like the abdominal wall down by the groin, even though he's like, it's a little weak. And then I found out after I woke up, he did repair it anyway. Man, no, I wheelchaired right the hell out of there. I couldn't walk or nothing. You lucky so-and-so.
You had a much more invasive surgery, so you're probably under a lot more drugs to keep you asleep. I was under for only an hour.
What could be more invasive than what you have done?
It was pretty invasive, but they didn't do nearly as much as they thought they were going to do, which I'm grateful for, because the recovery could have been a 6-week nightmare, and it would have left things inside me. It would have just been a whole thing. So I'm lucky that it was like the absolute baseline.
Dude, if they're leaving stuff inside you, that's has to start paying rent.
No, I'm paying him to be there. It's bullshit.
That's fucked up.
Thanks, American healthcare system.
Thanks, Obama.
We got some news today. What do you guys want to start with? We got PlayStation Portal, we got Starfield Leak. Do you want to just rip right into Portal? You just want to start off hot here?
Can
You're
we
like
please?
champing at the bit, so you have to let yourself and Chris off the leash on this one.
Nick, do you have the specs up for the PlayStation Portal? You want to just get us into this?
What fucking specs? What do you want?
This doesn't have specs. It doesn't even have spec.
The only spec that is like revelatory is the price, and then besides that, the name. So it's called PlayStation Portal, not to be confused with a real console. But yeah, it's $200. EJ, go off.
Okay. 8-inch LCD display, not an OLED display. 1080p resolution, which is an interesting choice,
It's a fine PPI.
but it's going to have a 4-hour battery life. And that's completely ridiculous for console. It's not playing anything natively.
Yeah, but it's got those haptic triggers and like the resistive triggers and haptic feedback. So that eats into the battery life.
So the worst console controller in 20 years, they've slapped onto a fucking shitty cell phone, and I'm supposed to be excited about that?
You shouldn't be surprised. They showed you exactly what it was. Like, how long ago was that? It was like a month ago, 2 months ago. Time means nothing anymore.
$200. And you have to own a $600 console. $500 console. I'm exaggerating. I'm hyperbole. I'm sorry.
I know, but you can't buy it for less than $550.
Oh, they're all bundled with games.
Yeah, it's always bundled with the game. So you can get the digital one. So you can get, that plus God of War, Horizon, or the new Spider-Man or whatever for $450, plus your $200 little tablet thing.
This is something that I am like on record when we talked about this when they unveiled it a couple of months back as being a device that I was genuinely interested in, depending on the price point and the features. Which, like, I thought that there were probably going to be some features that at least we'd get like cloud gaming. That if I didn't want to be running my PlayStation 5 to just like stream it over from the console, that I could just like play just cloud gaming, get out even with the like only Wi-Fi thing, which kind of the writing was on the wall with that it wasn't going to have like its own access to stuff. It was going to have to be Wi-Fi connected. But this thing is just such a piece of shit, man. Like it looks terrible, and I do not hate the DualSense. EJ, I know I've like mentioned this to you in chat, but like the more I play with it, the more I do not understand your take. I respect your experience, and I believe that you had that experience, but have not had the same experience at all. It's been very comfortable.
Every week, someone comments on my posts on Reddit still, or they've like Googled like DualSense controller uncomfortable because they're having the same cramping problems.
You're among the never nudes when it comes to hating the DualSense.
It's
but
a terrible
yeah.
controller.
So it looks shitty. It literally looks like you just like cut a DualSense in half and then Link ultra handed it together on a shoddy, 8 inches, whatever, LCD. Not even an OLED screen. $200 for this. 200 bones. 200 big ones.
It is literally just their current technology, which we had speculated, that exists if you have an iPad or a cell phone, and you can just download the PS app and connect any controller you want, whether it's a Xbox or a PS5, or whether it is some like Razer attachment that you slip your phone into to make it look like a Switch, whatever. And then it's just over Wi-Fi. It's the exact same technology that has existed since the PS4. It fucking sucks. It is unplayable. I couldn't even play South Park on it. I am one of the few people that has a serious Wi-Fi infrastructure in my home because I need it for work. Right? I am the 1% of people, 1% is an exaggeration probably, but I am the market for this. Like, I have blazing fast Wi-Fi speeds. I've got a $450 router and a freaking however expensive modem, and I'm just dialed in here with freaking antennas coming out my booty cheeks. And I can't even remote play South Park to an iPad Pro. It's absurd. So now they're going to sell us a crappy little tablet with a crappy Wi-Fi chip, way worse than is in my iPad Pro or my iPhone 13 Pro Max, right? That costs 5-6 times as much as this device. They're dipping their toes into cloud gaming, right? PS5 cloud gaming, subscription service, whatever. But this isn't compatible with that. So the one thing that they maybe had going for it, that you could tap into theoretically their state-of-the-art infrastructure, so you're only handicapped by your own Wi-Fi wherever you are, right? But no, you are handicapped by the Wi-Fi in your home. That's further degraded by wherever you are from there. So it's not even like, all right, at least you're connecting to Sony's servers. It's ludicrous. $200 when the whole market is doing the Switch, because the Switch is a great idea that needed some iteration. You could go buy a portable PC for $200 that'll emulate any system in the world and will remote play PlayStation 5 games if that's what you want it to do for as much money or a little bit more, and you get way more features. It's insane. The Steam Deck is $400, dude. And it's an amazing piece of tech. I don't get, who is this for?
I am the biggest mark on planet Earth. I am such a Marky Mark that I run with the Funky Bunch. My middle name might as well be, yes, I did. It might as well be my middle name. Mark might as well be my middle name. I don't even want to buy this. Me! I don't want to buy this.
I don't understand. And we knew it was going to be bad, but somehow they came out and still managed to disappoint everybody. Nick, do you know off the top of your head how many units the Vita sold?
It sold less than the Wii U, so about 12 or 13
12
million.
or 30. Okay, that's what I thought. Okay. The Vita was way ahead of its time. A really slick little device. And it sucks that it did as poorly as it did because it has scared Sony away from doing anything else of that nature. And it's like, that's what the market wants right now. Look at how well the Switch is doing. I'm not saying that a Sony Switch would do as well, you know, and I don't think they should replace their home consoles considering how well they're doing. But like, there's room in the market for it. And that a $250, $300 Switch equivalent, and I don't know. There are logistical issues, right? If it's not your primary console, there's issues with how the games work. Is this going to be strictly a handheld? Will there be crossplay? Like, I get it. There's problems to figure out, but like, I would much rather figure those problems out than just have this useless fucking device, knowing that our PlayStation Switch is not coming.
What do you think? Like, absolute ceiling on this piece of shit, 5 million units?
We're not going to ever hear numbers on this thing.
Yeah, I can't see this selling even as well as the PSVR did back in the day. And the VR2, I don't think you've reported numbers on that since they put that out. Like, they did their first, like, oh yeah, we did this and this fast, but I don't think it's going to be a long-term supported device. Yeah, it's just a really weird announcement. They touted this in the same blog post as their proprietary wireless headset and earbuds, which are also their premier, like, expensive headphones.
No Bluetooth!
Because wireless audio is just so bad latency-wise. Like, obviously this thing would never have Bluetooth because Bluetooth is slow as hell, and the only console that supports Bluetooth is the Switch. And even then, that was patched in like 5 years after the fact.
How do our phones do it so spectacularly?
There's no interface. There's no, like, you're not controlling a character when you're doing a phone call, right? And there's latency. Like, even Discord has this latency. It's the video, it's the audio, it's everything. That takes time to compress and then decompress at the other end of the chain. Think of Guitar Hero and how you had to calibrate to your CRT TV back in the day. Even that had latency from the controller to the screen. And now also take into account that audio stream being pushed through a wireless, which, like, I think the delay for Bluetooth is about 100 to 200 milliseconds, which is a tenth to a fifth of a second, which is a long time. When you see it and hear it, like, you're a video editor, EJ, you understand how much of a gap that is. So if you have that perpetually and there's no way to fix it beyond delaying the video, which then you have input delay for 100 to 200 milliseconds, which is unplayable. It's bad. It's what you experience when you're playing a streamed game. It compounds. Imagine, like, pressing the jump button and seeing your character jump in a quarter second and then hearing it at another quarter second later. Like, it adds up. If only they played it locally on the console, like, wouldn't that just fix everything? But they would have to charge $400 to $500 for a console that they don't want to support. Like, they don't want to support this with bespoke, like, software content. They don't want to make a version of God of War that can run on this piece of crap that they could actually, sell for a decent price. So it's juggling too many things. Sony is not in the market for making a handheld again because they are too busy sniffing their farts and making God of War. Like, that's what they want. They want to make the big bucks AAA game that sells 20 million copies, has the commercials during the Super Bowl. That is their market, and they've been very successful in that market. I don't understand what this does to further their market. It seems like a weird, like somebody had like a cool idea and they're like, yeah, they just sold it internally really well. Like someone just really championed this thing. Otherwise, I don't know what the play is. Like the headphones and the earbuds, that makes sense. That's like people fork out so much money for accessories. I think the biggest, like the things that have grown the most over the past few years that I've been paying attention to, like the NPD and Circana reports, has been gaming accessories and peripherals. So it's controllers. People are still buying as many controllers at $70 as they did at $60. So they'll keep making things that are more expensive because people will keep buying them. That's why you get more elite controllers. That's why you got the DualSense Edge. That's just like a slightly better version of the DualSense. Like it's got more buttons, but it still lasts for 6 hours because people are idiots and they don't understand what is good about a controller. So it is like the ignorance of the market, and people just have expendable income that they want to throw at peripherals because they like their console and they want to pimp it out. It feels like a cool thing. It's like when you buy a new car and suddenly you're looking at steering wheel covers on Amazon. It's the exact same thing.
I just can't fathom that this is worth the R&D. It's worth the production.
Yeah, I don't know what the end goal is. This feels like a in-between thing, but for what?
You know what it is? It's some very powerful person within the company was like, we need to do this.
They're like, we need a Steam Deck.
Right.
And someone's like, well, we can't and we shouldn't. And they're like, well, we want it. I'm like, well, yeah, okay, here's something kind of, sort of, you squint at it and, turn your brain off. You could convince yourself it's Steam Deck adjacent, but
Sony doesn't really do this very often. Like, I know like RIP the Vita for sure. Like, it just hit at a weird time in the market and people were lukewarm about it, which sucks because it was an amazing handheld. But Sony doesn't turn out products that just seem so rudderless. So I would totally buy that it's somebody higher up just going like, this is a thing we have to do.
I think VR kind of fits into that rudderless kind of category. It's always felt strange in the pantheon of Sony devices and like peripherals, I guess. It's not really even a standalone device. You've always had to have the hardware to run it.
Well, prior to the Oculus, though, I mean, that was like going over to like my buddy Grace and Will's and playing like Beat Saber and PSVR was like the fucking tits because we couldn't afford any of the like hardwired HTC Vive type shit for our PCs. And
sure, but that was like bleeding edge VR being like, oh, this could be a cool thing. But then everyone realized, oh, you're wearing a bucket on your head and you can't, you don't want to, that's not the way you're playing games. So it's a flash in the pan. It's a fun experiment. Then why do a VR 2?
It's the future. That's why I still maintain that
VR is not the future. AR is the future. People want to see what's around them. Video games are often a social thing. Like, yes, there are a lot of single player gaming, but like if you're sitting on a couch with your loved one, it's nice to be able to see their face if you want to.
Yeah, I think that's neat. But for me, the experience I've had with a lot of VR gaming after we got an Oculus, especially, I was kind of like, I've never done anything like this. Like, I think I've talked about playing the beginning of Resident Evil 7 on PSVR and that being like the most visceral gaming experience I've ever had.
I mean, it's interesting. Like we've talked about how many times I had a transformative experience with James Cameron's Avatar in 2009.
3D movies, the future.
Exactly. It wasn't the future. VR is probably not the future. And so Sony wanted to get on the ground floor of that, and every company wanted to get on the ground floor of that, and that makes sense. The difference is Nintendo's VR hadn't sold 130 million units, and then Sony came in with the Google Cardboard or whatever the fuck, right? Like, that's what this is. The handheld market is very well established. I don't understand why Sony, like, they're already going to make a pro version of this console. They have done it with one of the greatest selling consoles of all time, the PS4. They made multiple versions of that console that needed attention from developers every step of the way to make different versions of the games. And now that things are becoming more homogenous with PC, there's no reason that they can't just say, all right, the Sony Switch is going to be our sort of offshoot that we're diverting resources to the way we are with the Pro models. And they can either abandon the Pro models or not. But to me, it doesn't make sense that, I guess if they just said, fuck that, we don't want to do that at all, that's fine. But they're still going to make a Pro model, and they're going to have to do that anyway. So it's not that they're saying fuck that. They're just saying fuck the handheld market because they got their feelings hurt that things didn't work out for them when they were selling, 64 gig memory sticks for $300 a pop. Like, I wonder why that fucking console failed, Sony. So the logic is there, but then all these other things they're doing goes in the face of that. It's just this one thing we want that they're not doing it properly, and it's frustrating as someone who appreciates handheld games. I play my Switch handheld. I messed around with the Steam Deck for a while. Like, if I could sit in bed and platinum my shitty puzzle games, okay, I would do it. But I'm not going to do it streaming over Wi-Fi. I've been down that path, boys. It ain't work.
Definitely a weird choice.
You just want to do a little league update? I know we keep doing them without Brendan, but things keep happening, so.
Yeah, that's not from him. Shout out to Brendan.
He almost broke 100 points this week.
Man, that's mega rude. Man's not even here to defend himself. Not that he'd be able to if he was here, but I mean, at least give him the opportunity.
He just rolls over and has to take it because it's been a pretty bad year. Last 2 weeks, has everybody had a game come out?
To what end do you want to do this mini recap? Like, do you want to just crow about Sea of Stars? Because you can just crow about Sea of Stars, but...
No, we will talk
You can
about
also
Sea of
crow
Stars.
about Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah, I'm going to go on the Red Dead rant for sure today.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely. Okay, but...
Oh, man.
Okay, so what did Brendan have come out this week?
So, in the past couple weeks, Brendan had Cosmic Wheel come out.
Which did great.
And he had Armored Core 6 come out.
Also did well.
They both did great.
Solid pickups for him. Very, very solid pickups for him. Great.
Very, extremely. Especially considering you were thinking about super dropping your Alan Wake 2 counter for Cosmic Wheel, which I think would have been a big mistake. But you didn't do that.
That was predicated on Cosmic Wheel not releasing. It got a release date. Sadly, did not get pushed during Devolver's weird showcase thing they did, delaying all their games. Because that would have been amazing, and I would have definitely done that if I knew I had a 0 in the counterpick slot. I didn't, though. So I super dropped my only game not releasing this year in Replaced, which also got a delay last month, and ended up picking up another game. But those are great pickups for him. I mean, 15 and 16 points, it's not getting him any closer to third place, but...
I mean, they literally are, because they are points. Every positive movement is a movement towards improvement.
All right. Thanks, life coach.
You're welcome. Listen, if we all just believe.
I told him yesterday, I said, the optimal outcome for this would be EJ, Nick, Brennan, Chris, and if he can surpass you, Chris, and take third, buddy, I'm gonna have a parade in the fucking streets of Eugene, brother.
Yeah, don't strain yourself there, Mr. Repaired Keister. All right.
Oh man,
Don't rip a stitch.
Oh, that'd be a lot of fun for me. Chris, did you have anything come out this week or in the last 2-3 weeks?
Bomb Rush
Cyberpunk, dude.
What's that got, like 6 or 7 top critic reviews? Or is it still down at like 5, 6?
Good question. I haven't kept up on its number of reviewers. Sitting at a 74 right now. 15 total reviews. Top critic at 11.
Yeah, that feels about right. Yeah, I feel like there's probably a couple more coming, but few less points than I would have liked to see, especially considering, and again, I don't mauled the way that you do, EJ, about the perceived hypocrisy of critics, but I do look at a lot of these reviews where they're like, this is literally Jet Set Radio. 6 out of 10. They're like, I love Jet Set Radio. I'm so glad that something is like carrying on the tradition, but also they're not really doing anything that different, so it's a 7. I'm like, okay, I don't know what you want. If you
Astronaut in space always has been.
Yeah. If you want more Jet Set Radio and they make a beautiful new basically Jet Set Radio and you're like, oh, this is what I wanted. Like, I don't want Woody meme. I don't want to play with you anymore. Dropping fucking Woody down on the floor.
Woody.
Dude,
I anticipate your review of it once you get around to it. I mean, it's on Game Pass, isn't it? It's one of those Game Pass first day launches, or was it the Sony, the PlayStation Plus? I can't remember. I thought this one was as well. I know Sea of Stars is, but I thought this one was too.
I sent last Tuesday, I sent in the chat one of many. There are several reviews that made me roll my eyes, Chris, of Bomb Rush. And of course, my horse in the race is that Nick had counterpicked that. I had tried to counterpick it. It ended up being a great counterpick, but I want Nick. I would have loved for you to drop an 86 on that if it meant losing Nick those points. But I agree with you on I don't know if hypocrisy is the right word, but the inconsistency of some of these people who review games, and especially the ones where you dive into like their previous review scores. And I know I can't remember who it was who like positively reviewed Redfall, but they were giving, Zelda a 7 or whatever. So Game Crate Someone from Game Crate did a review. And the quote says, "There's no doubt that some Jet Set Radio fans hungry for more will enjoy Bomb Rush Cyberpunk. I've been waiting for this series' return in spirit along with the rest of them, but in the end, it did little more than inspire nostalgia for the original, gorgeous though it may be." And I sent that, and I quoted my own fake quote. "In the end, this game was exactly what I wanted, and I love my time with it. D-." I don't understand. I don't get it.
Gotta read the full review, brother. All the style in the world doesn't help Bomb Rush Cyberpunk live up to its inspiration. That's the tagline. Is a stylish but shallow blast from the past. I mean, what more do you want?
That's what games were in 2002.
Yeah. Turns out if you make a 2002 game in 2023, it doesn't always hit.
Unless it's Metroid Prime, baby.
Let's go!
Oh my God. Okay, Nick, what did you pick up this week?
My release for the week was Shadow Gambit: The Cursed Crew, which I did see Brennan playing on PlayStation as well.
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't ask him if he's liking it, but it looks sick.
Yeah, like kind of a cool, stealthy, I don't know, like puzzle action kind of game. I don't know. I don't even know how you classify it, but
It's like an RTS.
yeah, almost like a hero RTS. Like you're
stealth
playing as one character.
strategy. Yeah, it's
So you're
weird.
like doing pirate shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's dropped to 84. That's still a great pickup for you. And then you got Star Ocean, the second story R this week, which I also was trying to bid on.
Well, I mean, you were bidding on 5 games, so it was me just saying which of these is actually going to be good.
I bid on Pokemon DLC, taking a chance on that. Turtles DLC, which looks substantial enough that I could get reviews.
None
in
of your
it.
bids matter except for 1 and 2. So what were your 1 and 2 bids, EJ?
Turtles isn't going to get reviews.
Endless Dungeon, which I ended up
Right,
winning,
which is the one you got.
which I think looks fantastic. Good track record from the
Which
company.
I had dropped earlier because
Right.
it didn't have a release date, or its release date is sketchy to say the least.
Mid-October.
It already got delayed from August to October. Once.
Oh,
Yeah, so it's a little sketchy, but I think of the games that I was trying to get, the new Sonic and Lamplighter League, which I also think looks kind of good. It probably won't be good, but I was like, if this is what I get stuck with, if Nick swoops all these up and I pick that up, like that could be like a crazy little 85 that no one expected. I don't think it will be, but it does look interesting.
It does. It seems like one of those games that could easily be an 85 or a 75, and you would not blink
Right.
either way.
Exactly. So I ended up with Endless Dungeon. You know, it's funny because I tried to get that earlier in the season, and Nick, you swooped it from me. So
I just straight up bid you.
you
That's all
did.
it was.
You did. So I feel good that I have it back. I hope it comes out. I hope it's good. I'm gonna need it. In the group chat, you were giving me shit yesterday because I did not super drop my Storyteller, which I don't have the Dewey Decimal System on, so it just shows as a 0 at 70 points for me. But I talked to Brennan about this, and I said they're going to roast me for fucking not dropping Storyteller and dropping the Replace instead. But it's twofold. One is I stand by Storyteller. All right, I stand by that fucking pick, and I'm mad that people were like, oh yeah, we really love this game. It's just too short.
I stand by my bad decision.
that's a dumb reason to
I
do
stand by
things.
it. I wear it as a badge of honor.
Okay.
Two, given, and I know there's precedent for it, so you don't have to fucking roast me for it, but given that it is only less than 0.5 points,
Oh,
Please timestamp
that's
this just in
never
case.
affected anything in
I
the
know.
league before.
I know
Wait,
that's the
wait
joke.
a minute. Wait a
I
minute.
know.
Wait a minute. Yes, it did.
How much did I lose to you by last year, Chris?
0.02, I believe. I believe it was 2 hundredths.
Almost the smallest margin you could possibly lose by, but half a point. That's not going to swing the
Listen,
league. That right?
I know.
Right, EJ?
I know. But
You sure about that? You sure about that?
sure about that? That's what I just wanted. I wanted all of my games to be released this year. And unless Endless Dungeon gets delayed, every single one of my games that I picked up or bid on will have released. And that
That would be a first, a full 2023 roster.
yeah, I would feel really good about it. So that also factored into it. I mean, if I had lost 2 or 3 points on that, obviously I would have dropped it. But I was like, whatever.
Yeah, it's likely not going to be make or break. But if it is,
That would be
Oh,
fucked
my
up.
God.
I
That'd
will
be fucked
laugh
up.
you out of cyberspace and be like, I don't even care that I finished third place in the league. You're buying me whiskey again because this shit's so fucking funny. I can't help
dude,
it.
be on suicide watch. For
I
real.
literally, I would be fucking destitute. If this happened on fucking New Year's,
He'd be out on the street with a barrel around his waist.
if I lose by 400ths of a point, dude, I would be fucking distraught. I don't know what I would do. It would be a true nightmare for me, being both petty and competitive.
Competitive.
Oh! Thanks for that, dads.
Welcome.
What's on the horizon? We have stuff in the coming weeks.
Yeah, I mean, Sea of Stars, once that, once that releases, that's when we get points. So tomorrow that'll release. Starfield is next week. I believe reviews for that will be dropping soon.
Sea of Stars, by the way, sitting at a pretty 90 with about 60 reviews.
Yeah, 40 top critic reviews. So
It's a
lot
banger.
less than 94. I mean, that's like 8 points. Every
Yeah.
point over 90 counts for a lot.
That's true. That's true.
So an 8-point swing is like, I'm fine with that. But yeah, after Sea of Stars, Starfield, Lies of P for Brennan, see how that turns out. And then Mortal Kombat 1 for me. And then, yeah, there's some other stuff later in September, like Minico's Night Market and Cyberpunk 2077 expansion. So Brennan's going to be picking up some good late year releases as well. He'll break 100 soon. Don't you worry.
How is Starfield looking? That got leaked this week.
Yeah, there was already a review posted by an unofficial source, as it were. DJ insert clip here.
One of the all-time game leaks, Tyrone ripping a freaking doink on his vertical cell phone video here, just giving us some all-time quotes. Todd, no offense, man, that's a good game. No offense, man. Pretty swift, good moves. Oh, all right, good to know. It's a good game. Y'all don't want to miss that. Starfield for real. And this is all, again, from our buddy Tyrone, who is, in his own words, not no game expert. This dude definitely got arrested for leaking this game and making these videos and selling his copy to somebody. So that sucks for him. But if you're going to be so dumb as to commit this crime flagrantly and publicly and tie your real name to it, you kind of deserve what's coming to you. So
That's so fucking. He got arrested.
yeah. Oh, yeah. That man's in
We have
a bad
nothing-
way.
He's doing time.
We have nothing better to do than to arrest a guy who played a game too early and talked about it. We've got nothing else more pressing for our law enforcement officers or elected officials in this fucking country than to go arrest
there was other
Tyrone.
stuff like theft and selling of stolen items, and it wasn't the only thing, but it was part of the list.
Yeah, it wasn't that
Legend.
he just received a copy early in the mail. It was robbery. So let's see what his charges are. He has been arrested. Darren Tyrone Harris, the man revealed as a Starfield leaker and who leaked the game's first half hour, has been arrested. Surprisingly, Tyrone's arrest is not directly connected to Bethesda's upcoming title, and instead to theft and marijuana possession. Tyrone admitted on social media that the games he sold were stolen from a warehouse he worked at. So it's not like Bethesda went after this guy. He did steal the copy that he reviewed online from his job, but then he sold them. So yeah, he's going to be looking at some charges for that.
This is bullshit. Piracy's a victimless crime. Fuck you, Todd Howard.
No offense, Todd.
Let our man free.
That's a good ass game.
He
right
gave
there.
you a mountain of free press. You should hire Tyrone. Get him out of that warehouse.
Pay his legal
If
fees. Dude.
They make a physical copy of this game that needs to be like top of the box quote. No offense, Todd. That's a good game.
That is an all-timer. No offense. And then saying something overwhelmingly positive. That's just a great bit. I love that. Hey, no offense, man, but your podcast, I listen to it every week, dude.
I'm not offended at all. In fact, I'm overjoyed.
How dare you?
But not Todd. Todd's like, let's get him thrown in the slammer on some specious pot charges.
Or robbing the warehouse. Nick, you sent me a Mercari listener for
Oh my god.
full
That might be him. What if it's him? Where's he live? Is he in Kentucky or whatever?
last week. Nick sent me I think it was a listing for like 50 copies of Just Dance on Switch for like $500 or something.
What?
Or like 60 copies. It was something ridiculous. And I was doing the math on it.
50 copies?
Yeah, and I was like looking up.
It was a full pallet.
Yeah, he definitely stolen goods. And he had sold like 40 copies of It Takes Two. And like, so the man is definitely like fencing for somebody who's either robbing trucks or has access to a warehouse.
Robbing trucks? What year is it?
Oh, fully, dude.
He's a bandito.
No, that happens a lot in California.
California is a wasteland, dude.
Happens a lot in New York too. They'll just like fucking rob a truck, whatever. Truck driver doesn't care.
Yeah, not his problem. I have a buddy who I do work with who was down in California for a shoot. He was just outside of the airport, like near Oakland, I think. And they leave the hotel. They pull into a Starbucks that is 45 seconds away from the hotel. They park right in front. Armed security guards standing right up front of the Starbucks. They park in their SUV, lock the doors, go inside. 30 seconds later, they hear someone screaming, "They just hit your truck. They just hit your truck." And they run outside, and this car rolls up to them, smashes the back window out, takes tens of thousands of dollars in film equipment in under 30 seconds, and drive away. And I guess one of the guys looked at the security guard and was like, "What the fuck, dude?" He's like, "I'm not trying to get shot today." Like, it's not my problem, right? And I guess the guy said that they had followed them from the hotel. That just happens all the time near the airport. It's just a regular daily occurrence. Nobody's doing anything about it, and especially if it's corporate wares, no one gives a shit. It's like, yeah, don't shoot the truck driver. Take whatever the fuck you want, you know? It's crazy. So anyway, Todd Howard, free Tyrone, bro. Pay his legal fees at least.
Hashtag free Tyrone.
There were a few other leaks, right? I saw a huge Reddit thread where someone was posting different clips.
Yeah, really weird, like not actually substantial kind of leaks, not like story details, not like, oh, here's mechanics explained. It's like just some dude saying, if you walk straight for 30 minutes, this is where you end up. Like nonsense leaks. It's hilarious. I love it.
Right. I have not been able to glean whether this is going to be a 95 or an 85. I really don't know. My gut tells me this is not a Skyrim. It looks interesting, but I don't know. I don't know. I can't. I don't even know what did I predict on it. Let's see. Predictions. Starfield. I put an 87 on it, and I don't feel good about it. So I don't know.
Yeah, I've got a 89 on it. Chris,
what's your gut tell you?
I was going to say like 89, 90. Like 87 weirdly feels like really low. But I know it's only a 2-point difference, but that's a lot more 9s and 9.5s than 8s. You know what I mean? Just to
Right.
swing those couple of points. Yeah, I mean, and truth be told, who fucking cares? Because I've got it and I'm not catching either of you sons of bitches.
Oh, no, dude. Hey, man, I could take a bath on like, you know, Mario RPG remake. It could be bad.
Just shut the fuck up and let's talk about something else. No, don't you not only like salt the wound on the fact that I'm going to lose this league again, but also implying that one of the goatiest goat fucking collaborations between industry titans ever getting remade is going to be less than like a 96. You're welcome. Also,
hope so.
buy the fucking game and play the whole fucking thing. Save your game so that you can actually finish this one, and we'll talk about it on the podcast.
All right. You know what shouldn't have been bad, but apparently was? Goddamn Red Dead Redemption port.
Go off, King. You earned it.
I'll make this brief. I bitched last week or 2 weeks ago about how reviewers, how inconsistent they are, and how imaginary expectations should not be coloring games journalists in their coverage of games.
And I said,
That's
you're
some pie in the sky
insane.
bullshit.
This is going to be bad. Insert clip. Thank you.
I mean, listen, it got a 76.
That's
but
terrible. That's terrible. It was a
6 free points.
94. It was
6
a
free points.
94
I agree.
in the original version. Insert clip.
This is also the game that Chris was trying to get before it turned into a bit. But it's 6 free points. I'll take it. I wouldn't have gotten any points there.
Free? That cost you $9,
Didn't
EJ.
matter. I had nowhere to spend that money. Didn't matter.
Except for after you super dropped, you could have gotten a much better game. You wouldn't have had to like shotgun
couldn't have.
6 $1
What better
bids.
game? What game? I got the game. I got the first bid I wanted. I got the game I wanted. There's no other games.
Gonna be more games. Nick knows this. That's why he's sitting there smiling at you and why he still has open slots. There's gonna be more games.
Bro, this is already the best year for gaming maybe ever, with like 10 90s on the board, and like Starfield
Endless
is still yet
Dungeons,
to
not
come.
gonna be one of them.
Mario, it's not gonna be a 90. Come on, I know that.
What if we get a Metroid Prime 2 remaster in November?
Fuck
we
it.
could.
We're not getting that. Maybe a port.
Timestamp.
Maybe a port.
Time
Maybe
fucking
a port.
stamp.
Okay, and let me tell you about ports. Red Dead Redemption, by all accounts, the exact same game we got 13 years ago, which people love, bundled with a game that got like an 88 on Metacritic in Undead Nightmare. A full-length game. Not a fucking DLC, not a Blood Dragon 3-hour experience. A full-length 14-hour game. Okay? bundled together. It was not 4K 60 frames per second. It wasn't completely remade from the ground up. It wasn't made in Red Dead 2's engine, okay? But it did have a new lighting system, new shadow textures. Like, it looks better. And it is rock solid. Digital Foundry's performance review was spectacular. This is the definitive way to play one of the best games ever on modern hardware, including Nintendo for the first time. Okay, so I just want to point out some ridiculous hypocrisy here. I know we talked about Nintendo. I know we talked about Pikmin being sold for $50 and it's 2 games locked at 30 frames per second at 720p or whatever, and that got mid-80s. Okay, whatever. Nintendo, we're going outside the realm of Nintendo here, guys. Let me just rip off a couple of facts for you. Games that were straight ported or were only ported with minimal changes like a frame rate unlock or a resolution bump, which has no impact on fidelity as far as aesthetically. BioShock the Collection, 84. Uncharted Nathan Drake Collection, 86. Last of Us Remastered, a straight port with the unlocked frame rate, 94. 94, full price game. Mega Man Legacy Collection, 80. Grand Theft Auto 5, 92 for the port. Okay, Nick's making faces at me. Don't you patronize me. Mass Effect Legendary Collection, to be fair, there was a little more done to that game, 87. Super Meat Boy, 83. Direct port with a different soundtrack. Not even the original soundtrack.
The Danny B soundtrack is a lot better.
Borderlands 2 from the Handsome Jack Collection, 86. The Witcher, 93 on the next gen quote-unquote port. That is nothing but some hair physics and a fucking frame rate unlock. And not even a consistent frame rate, mind you. Tomb Raider, 85 on that port. Even Assassin's Creed Rogue went up in points from the original release when the port of that came out.
Well, the original was unsung for sure.
I'm not rising to that. It was a great game.
It was a good game, but it was not a great game. It was a good game.
It was a great game.
And it was stuck on Xbox 360 well after the 360's life cycle had ended.
I would be interested, and this is not me flicking shit, this is a genuine thought here, with maybe like a teeny bit of shit flick in there because I can't help myself. How many of those had subsequent and very recent sequels that are considered not only also some of the greatest games ever made, but like generational titles that, I mean, and we're still, RDR2 is not that old.
It's not.
Well, some of those were like collections, and that turns into a stickier sort of preposition. I know that this is bundled with the DLC. It's like a Game of the Year edition, director's cut almost, like without any really added content. It's just the full experience, right? So yes, it is everything you would want from Red Dead Redemption 1 from a port.
Yeah.
So I get your point, EJ.
Last of Us Remastered, that was prior to Part 2 releasing, right? Because then we got Last of Us Part 1, which was
well before.
Course,
yeah,
and that was a substantive update to that game.
Yeah, I believe Remastered came out a year after the original because it came out on PS4. The
right.
original was in 2013, 6 months before the PS4 came out, and then 6 months after the PS4 came out.
Skyrim Legendary Edition, it's got a low 80s, 0 changes on that port. 0 change. It was the Legendary Edition, but that was years
with all
old.
the expansion content, right? Yeah, exactly.
Imagine we get a God of War 1, like a God of War 2018 port to Nintendo Switch. I mean, I feel like...
Come on, because it's coming to Nintendo for the first time.
But in a post-reg... Well, so was Red Dead Redemption and Undead Nightmare, and that did not well. Not well, man. No, I mean, I feel like that would get a similar treatment in a post-Ragnarok world where it's like fairly widely accepted critically that is a better game, or at least as good a game. Red Dead Redemption 2 is unquestionably a better game than Red Dead Redemption 1, pretty much every way.
That I would agree with. I think the first God of War game is widely accepted as the better of the two. I think it's 2 points higher in OpenCritic.
I guess I would be interested. I like this. I like this thought experiment, EJ. I'm not gonna like give you shit about this. Like, even though it was like just gritting and nodding along because you're just losing your mind, and I really enjoy that. I thoroughly enjoy it.
It's good theater.
What I want though is you're only doing like cursory, research. Like, I want to know what was the original score, what was the port score, and what was the time delta between those releases. Because I wonder if it's just been in that Goldilocks zone of, yes, people remember Red Dead Redemption being a great game, and then time passes, GTA 5 comes out, a lot more time passes, Red Dead Redemption 2 comes out, that kind of changes where people are at with the Rockstar experience and what they look for and what they expect from it. And then finally, we get the Red Dead Redemption port on PS4 and Switch. Like, not PC. I think if this got a PC release, it would be a much higher score, strangely. And then it's already been available backwards compatible on Xbox, so it's like, those guys aren't going to review it. One of the lowest reviewing scores on this list I'm looking at is from Push Square, which is a PlayStation-leaning outlet. So maybe the PlayStation port was just like not stunning. It's like it wasn't enough. It wasn't what we've gotten from Resident Evil and from even Last of Us Part 2 or Part 1 got touched more than Red Dead Redemption did because it's a port.
It is all a byproduct of false expectation, right? Feeling for some reason betrayed by this like false bill of goods that they were sold, which didn't exist.
Yeah, and Rockstar doesn't put games out like ever. Like Red Dead Redemption came out in 2018 too. Came out in 2018. It's been 5 years. It just shows that they don't give a shit. Like it's just another game that they didn't really give a shit about. Like not really. Like they put it out and it's not terrible. Like they did the absolute minimum.
But it's the best version of the game. And even though it is not the full remake that people wanted.
A game that came out in 2011, 2012, it's 13 years old. Well, like Nick was just saying, like there are better Rockstar experiences out there now, substantially better ones. Like,
yeah, and its best reviews are from Nintendo leaning outlets.
There you go. The Nintendo bump is real. More confirmation bias for EJ. Fuck
we
us.
know that.
Like,
We fucking obviously we know that. It's absurd.
I think it's a lot of things. Like it's throwing stones at the big company Rockstar, or it's punishing them for other sins. I think. I agree with you, EJ.
All the reviews are basically like, this is a generational game. I loved revisiting this world, but $50, wait for a sale. First of all, you're a gigantic fucking pussy if you're like $50 is too much for two of the best games ever. That's ridiculous. It's not a $70 game.
It's 13 years old. It's too much fucking money.
If it was $40 and if the game was 9 years older, then it would be perfect.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It's ridiculous. Metroid Prime was even I admit, as far as remakes go, that was spectacular. I mean, that's what you want out of a remake like that. It is as faithful as it could be to the original while looking like a modern game. That is what I goddamn want in a remake.
Yeah. So I wonder if people just didn't want a port. They wanted a remaster. They wanted to see it touched up a little bit. So
of course they did.
Of course they did.
And it's the year of the remake, man. It's the year of the remake. And then we get this like very shoddy, although, yes, okay, fine. Best way to play the game.
Perfectly cromulent port. I think it's totally fine.
Port. A PCP. Wait, no. Scratch that.
If it had come out a year sooner.
With less like anticipation with leaks from the Korean rating board and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah, totally. I get that.
Before the Dead Space, before the Metroids, like.
Before Resident Evil.
It's been a really good year for remakes. Goddamn.
For sure, dude.
It's frustrating because it wasn't called Red Dead Remastered. I've said that.
It's called Rockstar Games Presents.
These people, they go into it with these false expectations and they craft their entire all the messaging about the game. Like, I don't care if you think the game is worth $50. Tell me about the fucking game. I'll determine if it's worth $50.
How is that not part of what a review that is, as you love to say, EJ, for the consumer and about the consumer, not supposed to weigh on it if they think it's a good value investment? That's exactly what they should be telling me.
Because they're not consistent in it.
That is functionally... Well, of course they're not. It's a fucking...
So it's not useful. It's not a useful metric. Oh, this is a release that I personally really was waiting for. So to me, it's worth the $60. That's not useful.
It turns into another anecdote.
That's implicit in every review is they are telling you if it is worth your money or not. That is the purpose of a review. Sorry, Luke Plunkett or who the fuck ever still at Kotaku. That is the purpose of a review.
I agree. But if the sole reason you were docking a game points is because, hey, I love this game. It looks great. The minor changes are awesome. It plays fucking spectacularly. I got to play it on the go. I'm perfectly happy with it. Wait until it's $40, 7 out of 10. That's lazy. That's stupid.
I would love to read that review, EJ, if you have that.
I was gonna say, fucking link it.
I love that straw man, EJ. It's beautiful, and I want to read it.
It's not up to industry standard for what we expect from a revisitation of a great old game. And that is the fact of the matter, is it is not up to what people expect, and rightfully so. If you are going to bring an old game back, you would goddamn better make it look good, and it needs to be more widely playable. Switch be damned. The fact that it's not on PC is so fucking lazy. This is a cash grab. We all knew it, and they deserve to be penalized for it.
Well, yeah, they'll do the Rockstar thing that they love to do, which is put it out on consoles and then wait another 6 months to a year and put it on PC because the PC players will buy it twice. It's their MO, and it totally works. I mean, people are very weak. They'll get FOMO, they'll buy the thing, even if they don't actually want it on a platform they don't prefer, and then they'll buy it again later because they actually want to play it on a different platform.
9 of the 14 reviews, I don't know how many of these are Top Critic, 9 of the 14 reviews, the entire crux of their review on the Open Critics quote page boils down to the price tag. 9 of 14. That is the number one thing they say when boiling down their recommendation is if you can drum up the money, if the price tag doesn't disgust you, we don't think X, Y, and Z. That is, if this were $40, this is probably 6 points higher. If it's $30,
and I think that's a pure reflection on the actual like consensus for consumers as well. I think a lot of people think $50, that's way too expensive for an old ass game. That's just a port. I mean, even the trailer that they dropped had like 100,000 dislikes. Like people were not excited about this. No one was like pumped and jazzed about a fucking Red Dead port on Switch 12 years after the fact.
I don't blame Rockstar fans for not being stoked about this at all. I'm talking about games journalists, quote unquote. We love to say games
journalists. The people who are reviewing
journalists.
this are the fans. You know, there's not a big distinction between the people in their ivory towers and the plebeians who are rummaging amongst the masses, clicking the thumbs down button on YouTube. Like those people are one and the same.
I wish I could find original MSRP for some of these ports that I brought up earlier. You're right. It does matter, like how soon between releases were there, what the market looked like at the time. But you know, yeah, Handsome Jack Collection selling with 3 games or whatever for $40 is great value. If they sold it for $70, much less so. So I do understand that that's part of it. But again, this was $50. Not 70.
That is one of the best things going for it, is that it's not 70.
And having one of your biggest positives be a negative is not a good sign.
I mean, the biggest positive is that it is the best version of one of the greatest fucking open world games ever. That's the positive.
That no one wants to play anymore. No one wants to play a 12-year-old fucking game that has a better sequel. We spent so much time on this. I don't blame you for feeling like your ass is chapped. I really don't, because I thought it was going to be great too.
That is a bad take.
What do you mean it's a bad take?
Nobody wants to play a game if it has a better sequel.
Yeah, 12 years later, when the new game is like 3-4 years old and playable on every modern console. No, they don't want to play that.
They're different games, distinctly different. It's not like
Madden 23, Madden 24.
Right. Oh, you want to play Skyrim Legendary Edition when Skyrim Dragonborn Edition is right there? Like, they're not the same fucking game. They're different fucking games. Yeah, people can go play Red Dead Redemption 2, but that's not Red Dead Redemption.
Hey, EJ, if we ported Oblivion to the Switch tomorrow, are you going to buy and play that game for $50? No, you're not.
I've never played Oblivion.
And a lot of people who played RDR2 didn't play RDR1. And they're not going to, because, Nick, good timing. That's nice. That's real nice.
That's probably not who this is targeted at, you know?
I don't know who it's targeted at. That's part of the thing. It's like, who do they, it's like, hey, Nintendo
it's
fans.
It's not targeted at reviewers, that's for sure.
It's like a bad hand job towards Nintendo Switch fans of like, yeah, you like that? You could play this Xbox game 12 years later. Yeah.
You mean the Nintendo Switch's entire third-party fucking platform? Their entire philosophy, hey, play the worst version of this game years late.
Best version of it, EJ, remember you just said best version of this game.
So this is the exception to the Nintendo rule. I'm further proving my point.
You're proving nothing other than you need to be on blood pressure medication if you're not already.
I fully am. Shout out
EJ,
to
you're that cartoon of the guy shooting arrows at the wall and then going up and painting targets around the arrows where they landed.
Fuck off. This game is targeted at 120 million Switch owners and 145 million PlayStation owners in the last 10 years. That's who. Hundreds of millions of people who can't access this game.
When they brought over such things as the BioShock collection, I paid for that game brand new, EJ.
I paid $20 for it.
I paid
What was
$30.
the original MSRP on it? That's what I want to know.
I don't give a fuck because it dropped
Probably
fast.
30 or 40.
Probably 30 or 40. I got that for $30. You know what I paid for the Borderlands collection?
Same parent company. That's Take-Two.
Borderlands collection, $20 on Switch.
You want to know what the BioShock collection MSRP was? In America, $50. Was that all 3 games? That was 2 games, wasn't it?
It was all 3 games BioShock is. All 3 fucking games, including like 1 and Infinite, widely considered to be hallmarks of their respective console generations, and rightfully so.
All I'm saying is that when Console Crusade is reviewing games, and we are a top reviewer on OpenCritic, I will not stand for this.
Except for when you don't think it's worth the money, and then you will. And then we'll talk about it, and it'll be really funny. And that'll be fine. And I'll be like, I'm not even mad about it. I'm not even mad because that's part of it. It's part of the game. It's part of the game.
All right. Really quick, before you guys run wild with your indies and your Luigis, Charles Martinet retired, was fired, was transitioned.
Yeah, weird, right?
I don't know.
Yeah.
So, Nick, what happened with this man, the iconic voice of Mario?
What, he's like in his 60s / is 60? 67.
He's old.
So
he's old.
voice actors can age, you know, like they don't necessarily lose their ability to do the voice. Mario's not necessarily a really intensive sort of performance, I don't think. And also they don't put him in the booth for every new game.
Bro.
They've got 100 wahoos.
Masako Nozawa, the voice of Goku, is 86 and she's still screaming in the booth.
Yeah, and everyone is so happy for that. She was a great kid Goku. Why did they have to keep the voice?
Yeah, I agree.
Through adulthood.
It's super weird.
Anyway, yeah, good tangent though. Yeah, he is no longer the voice of Mario. The next Mario title will not have him doing the voices in Mario Wonder. That's been confirmed. They have not confirmed who the new voice actor is. They're doing a Charles Martinet. Like they're keeping the voice is the same. They're just changing the person who does it. And yeah, there's speculation as to the reasoning and the friendliness between Charles and the Nintendo Corporation, which whatever, get that bag. If you got fired, that sucks. Like I'm sure they were paying him pretty okay for being Mario. Mario's like one of those characters that doesn't require a lot, but probably pays okay. Like it's not intensive or anything, like I said.
He was on the record 18 months ago saying, I want to voice Mario until I drop dead. So something tells me, unless he, and God forbid we speculate here, but unless there was some dramatic health concern or something along those lines, I doubt this was his idea. He's been transitioned to Mario spokesperson. I'm assuming that just means he won't be getting paid, but he'll still continue to go make money at conventions and things, making appearances. So it seems weird. It seems like a weird thing, especially considering that anyone can do a Mario impression. So like, what does it matter? Why do you have to? Like, why does it matter? Unless you're trying to save a few bucks.
This is a little bit of I had to check on my phone before I popped off, only to be proven wrong on air, because God knows I do that often enough. I don't need to add to my misery. Charles Martinet is the voice of both Luigi and Mario in Luigi's Mansion 3, which is a fairly recent release. Was that 2021?
2019.
2019? Okay, so 4 years ago. Wow, okay, that's even worse. First cutscene of that game, slight spoiler for my talking about Luigi in a little bit here, literally was like, who the fuck is this? Like, this is bad. This is not good. They do not sound right. It did not sound right at all. And this is before, I had no idea it was him until I literally just Googled it right here. But in those first cutscenes, there's a lot of Mario and Luigi doing like one word communications and little shit like that. And I'm like, this can't be him. Like, they must have outsourced this to somebody else. Yeah, man, you get old, those vocal cords get old. Not everybody can do it like Son Goku's voice actor and into their 80s in the booth. I think Buddy is just losing his touch. And I think that the fact that they didn't have to do any of this, right? Like, they could have just really quietly replaced him and dealt with the fan outrage. But I think the fact that they are like pretty clearly continuing to keep him on payroll as the Mario ambassador, whatever that means, we don't know. But he's probably still collecting a check from the Big N, and he probably will be until he dies. It's more than they had to do. And Tiffany, for the record, who of course is a massive Mario 64 stan, for like that's the impactful Mario game for her in the way that like World and Yoshi's Island is for me. So she grew up with, oh, linguine, fettuccine when he's taking a nap. Tiffany was devastated at this news. And was only heartened by the fact that they were continuing to keep him present in the company. So I think it's kind of a classy move by the Big N in an industry that often just kind of chews you up and spits you out. Hashtag Bayonetta's voice actor, whatever the fuck ended up happening with that.
Oh yeah, when she just went completely off the rails.
Just fucking nutso. Like that's the other side of what this usually looks like, is that when they're done with you, they're just fucking done with you.
Yeah, and whatever. Each situation's different, so it's not like a one size fits all approach. But yeah, obviously, probably going above and beyond for this. I don't know if it's ever going to be like said out loud why they're replacing him. We can speculate till the cows come home, but whatever. I mean, this is not an important voice, I don't think. Like anyone could do a Mario voice. Anyone could do a Mickey Mouse voice. It doesn't matter who voices them. The character is more iconic than the voice.
That is what makes it silly to me. I disagree that any perceived lack in quality in Luigi's Mansion 3, which I played the first few hours of, is somehow rooted in nostalgia for thinking that Charles Martinet has ever done anything more than what he did in that game.
Certainly.
It sounds wrong, man. I'm telling you, go back and like listen to that first cutscene again.
It sounds wrong because they're using multiple words.
It's not even that. Like the tonality's wrong. Like it feels like it's sitting in like a different place in his throat. Like he's got to like technique wise like place it somewhere else to still achieve like a similar effect. Like I'm telling you, like something's going on. Something's going on with him and his ability to still do this. Because otherwise, why not let him do it till he dies? Who cares, right? As long as he's continuing to make the Mario voice, they're going to continue to make it a checks for him.
It's either money or it is just weird, outdated Japanese philosophy of like, we need to bring someone young in.
You just said that what's her name, because I don't listen to dubbed Dragon Ball Z or subbed Dragon Ball Z, is still doing Goku at 87. So like that doesn't make any sense to me. I feel like it's quite the opposite because it's so easy.
Also, why now? Why not any time in the past?
Yeah, it's not about money.
Just because the movie, like they want to slowly transition towards a Chris Pratt sound alike.
Oh,
they don't
shut
Chris
shut
Pratt,
the fuck up. No,
I mean,
no.
maybe
No!
That's what people think of when they think of Mario talking.
Yeah,
No!
it'd be just a shitty Brooklyn accent. Yeah.
Oh,
Why not?
And I think that would be a mistake. I mean, Mario, his charm, exactly like you said, Nick, he's like fucking Mickey Mouse. The charm, part of that character is, like it's not some fucking crusty old Brooklyn man.
But that can change. I mean, the Mario movie made $1 billion. That can change.
Fuck the Mario movie.
with a B.
A babillion.
A babillion.
You think Chris Pratt is the reason that movie made $1 billion? You think that movie wouldn't have made $1 billion if Charles Martinet was going wahoo the entire time?
No, I think it's naive to think that because there's going to be 80 trillion of these fucking movies that they would start to do exactly what they did in Spider-Man PS4 and make Spidey look more like Tom Holland. Like, we have a precedent for this. I don't love it either, man. In fact, having this introduced as the possible reason why they would do this, although I do maintain it's because he's got something going on. Maybe he's got like a bad case of nodes and he just didn't recover from it well.
Or maybe he's just
He's got
70.
throat cancer or something.
Maybe he does.
Anything can happen.
Otherwise, let him do it until he dies, as long as it sounds the same, as long as it is Mickey Mouse, the same as it's always been Mickey Mouse, but in a plumber suit. It's fine.
Yeah. So, I mean, if they change the voice actor, then they have carte blanche to do whatever they want with the voice. So if they make it sound more Brooklyn-y, they give more lines, quote unquote, to Mario. I mean, we've already seen that with the flowers. Like they're talking, they're saying words and sentences. Mario and Luigi and Peach and Daisy can all be doing that as well. We don't know. We haven't seen jack shit about the new game. So that could be the next direct. That's probably happening in a couple weeks.
Mario Wonder, here we come. Wahoo!
I can't hear that meme anymore without just picturing Drew, just like full balls, just doing the
Drew should be
impression.
Mario.
I'd pay for that game.
Let's stomp
Let's
some
go.
Koopas.
Koopas. Dude, the Chris Pratt like check off camera is like, that's as iconic in my mind now as the Tazon Day, like breathing off mic. It's just like a quick glance at my notes. off cam. It's just brilliant.
Yeah, what double dose ADHD medication does to a conservative.
Shout out Charles Martinet, one of the most iconic
We love you,
characters
Charlie.
of all time. Has voiced him since he had a voice.
Well, yeah, I mean, was one of the most iconic voices and has definitely played the part longest.
He'll still be at cons, I'm sure. You're right, Chris, that regardless of the reasoning, if it was a firing or if there is any malice on the part of a big faceless corporation, that they did this in a way that would absolutely minimize any sort of PR trouble. And Charles Martinet tweeted it out, played nicely. We'll see how it unfolds in the coming years. Hopefully he just continues to do what he's doing, which is showing up at conventions and
Going,
Getting that
woohoo!
sweet Nintendo
Everybody
hush
goes,
money.
yeah, and then Nintendo sends him a check. Yeah.
maybe Nintendo's mad at how he's leveraged his celebrity into a vehicle for making cashola. I don't know.
Throwing his weight around. Big Martinet money.
That's right, dude. And if that's the case, I hope he fucking is, okay? I hope he fucking is.
Also, just because we've all Googled Charles Martinet just recently, just to look at him and everything, tell me he doesn't look exactly like Stellan Skarsgård. Come on.
I can see it. I can see it, but
Exactly. They're brothers.
see, Charles Martinet is like so much more of a goofball, whereas Skarsgård is like, he terrifies me. So
Terrifies you, but also he was hilarious and drunk in Thor.
Charles Martinet is Skarsgård's Mario to his Wario, okay? That's what it is. They are each other's counterpart.
My Mushroom Kingdom, my coins, my peach.
So that's Stellan Wartinet.
All right. Chris, you got 20 minutes. You've been playing Luigi's Mansion.
I have.
Tell us about it.
I'm about like 13, 14 hours in. I'll start by saying I've enjoyed it well enough. It's been on loan from Nate. Nate, as we've talked about on the podcast, has been basically like culling a lot of his collection down to pretty much just Zelda games and then some like really essentials that he really wants to have on his shelf. And otherwise he's like, I don't need these anymore. I bought it from him. Had it on loan and was like, hey, what would you charge me for this? And he's like, well, looking at the market, it'd be around, such and such, and I'll take 25% off of that for a homie price. I'm like, cool. So I paid $25 for it. Now it's on my shelf. So I'm enjoying it enough to buy it. It is, I love a lot of the things that they've added to this, like systemically. Like I could not have cared less about Luigi until starting this game, which for the uninitiated is you have this little tank of shit on your back, and you can at any time by clicking the right stick deposit with all the slurping and sticky poop kind of sounding noises in the world, a goo version of Luigi called Luigi, who can do all the things Luigi can, except for stand in water.
Luigi is canon.
That's great. As
It's
well,
a
he
terrible
should be.
name. It's terrifying.
Oh, they call him Luigi in the game. Yeah, that's
Yeah. Yep. He could slide through bars and shit, and so you could do like some
fall through grates. You got to be careful.
Fall through grates. Yep. One of my favorite things to do is stand like right over the grate and like drop him on, so he's already sliding down by the time I have player control. It just amuses me. I don't know why. And so you could do a lot of like, double sort of like vacuuming things to have greater effects or pushing to have greater effects. There's like a pull and swing feature in this game with the Poltergust where you can stick plungers with ropes to things and then pull them to like open walls and shit. Or if there's like big obstacles in the way, you can sort of like double team them with like plunger pulling. And the whole conceit of the hotel is I'm having a really good time, and it just is. I mean, if the hotel was the only conceivable like geographic vehicle they could have to do the shtick of we're going to give you a really different environment every floor, great, that's fine. Doesn't make it like a fucking sense. Who cares? I just love the fact that I go on one floor and I'm in a fucking film studio with a boss encounter where Luigi's like dropped into a kaiju film that the boss ghost that you thought you were going to fight is just really excited to cast Luigi in his fucking kaiju movie. And then you do a boss fight against the ghost in the kaiju outfit. And you don't even have to like go vacuum up the director ghost, but I did because there's only room for one director in this house and it's me. So naturally I had to send him to fucking ghost jail. Yeah, so there's a lot of good stuff. I love that I can vacuum anything and it's going to give me money because I like to collect things in video games. And it gives me a constant drip of dopamine of just like vacuuming in a blind and then like sucking in $5 or $6 that like float down from the ceiling. Like, yeah, give me that. Hunting for gems is enjoyable. I love that you can buy locations once you access each floor, because it's kind of helped me from wasting my time, frankly, and running around in rooms that I'm like 99% sure I've already cleared. And even then, some of the puzzles I'm kind of like, I've been in this room so many fucking times, I don't get it. And then when it finally does click, and I'm sort of like, fuck, that's really clever. I wouldn't have thought to do that in that configuration. It's really satisfying. It's really, really satisfying. Like I had one in the like Knights and Castles floor that I had fucking tore that room up, and it's like one of the first rooms you get into, and then finally just happened to like hit the right spot with a black light and filled in a suit of armor that I, for whatever reason, hadn't like checked that particular alcove. I'm just like, damn it, like, that makes perfect sense because it's all laid out, you know, this way and that way and the other thing. And one where I could there was a pipe in through a grate in the floor with Luigi that you could toggle back and forth between two different sources of water upstairs. And I had tried so many different methods of interacting with it, but I had never tried like blowing with the poltergust on the faucet handles of the bath. And when I did that, it turned the water on in the bath when I had the lever on in the basement with Luigi so that the water would rise and I could pull the box with the last gem on that specific floor out of it. I'm like, man, like these are super cool puzzles. So all that stuff is like really, really neat. Like I said earlier, the voices are off. It's weird. Makes me uncomfortable. Luigi doesn't sound like Luigi. I can't explain it, but it just has not sounded right since the game started, which is really kind of a lot to deal with for a game that is a lot of Luigi making vocal nonverbals every time something happens. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, like you don't sound right. Like, take some cold medicine or something. There is a lot about this game that is bafflingly not good. The controls are god-awful. They're bad. They are really bad. I do not understand why, in some cases, for example, when I have like vacuumed things like a watering can or a torch or something that I can carry with me that I can move in 360 degrees, but when I'm trying to charge up my strobe bulb or my black light, I don't remember what it's actually called, ghost light or whatever, it fixes me into like strafe only controls. That's dumb. They didn't have to do that. They decided they wanted to do that. I think it makes the game a lot less enjoyable to control and to play. Makes some of the boss encounters really frustrating because they rely on you being really, really precise with like really minute signs coming from some of them in order to respond to. And if you happen to be oriented just off the right way, you're fucked because the strobe bulb only lasts as long as it lasts, and then you're going to get hit. You lose health really fast, although they do give you in boss encounters especially a lot of health back. The menu UI is just among the worst I have ever seen in a Nintendo game. It is fucking horrendous.
You don't like the virtual horror?
Well, that's the thing is I love the fact that like every single one, it's something different, right? Like it was the DS in the
Game Boy horror in the first one.
Yeah, which was awesome. And in this one, it's the virtual Boo, which is so fucking sick. And you get the little headset and it's all like red and he's, you know, Egan is like, he's like moving in like really shitty virtual boy looking graphics. I love that. And then I open the map and I want to kill myself. I have to, some floors have multiple levels and I cannot simply use, I don't know, the up or down button on my fucking directional controls on the left Joy-Con to switch floors. Oh no, I have to scroll all the way over with a manual cursor and click the floor that I would like because apparently it's 1997 in these developers' minds.
They made it like Destiny, those bastards.
Oh God, it's terrible. It's terrible. I hate going into the map screen. And you know that as a Metroid player, I love spending some time in my maps. But this game makes it really, really hard to love. Some of the interactions with the worlds are really finicky. where I was like, oh, one puzzle in particular in the mall floor where you have to play the Luigi's Mansion theme on all of these like Coke bottles, basically, that are at different levels of liquid. I spent 15 fucking minutes in that room trying to time out like the exact beat of how this should be played, trying to hit every single bottle selectively, trying to run by and like blow and or suck all of the specific bottles in order, moving one direction in the other. Nothing fucking worked. Nothing worked. 15 minutes. And then eventually it just popped. Wasn't doing a goddamn thing different. Not a goddamn thing different. And there's a lot of little things like
Skill
that.
issue.
No, I don't think it is. I don't think it is, buddy. Yeah, and so it does so many things well, but it's got so many of these like really weird design wrinkles that I'm just like, who thought this was a good idea? And the fact that it keeps me locked in the GameCube single stick design philosophy of you can't just fucking turn your body when you're charging a strobe light bulb up. Like I don't get it. It's just bad design. It makes no sense to me.
Yeah, I can't remember when you're charging the strobe bulb what left and right on the right analog stick does, because I do know that it is a difficult game to control because you are moving this character around in, one axis, and then you can move your suction vacuum up and down, left and right. It's like there's a lot of movement going on, so it is a strange control scheme, and they do give you a couple different options, but none of them ever really felt like the most comfortable, I guess.
Yeah, and the vacuum kind of works, even though the fact that like turning left and right when you're vacuuming is locked to Luigi's left and right, no matter which way you're facing. So I will try and turn him to my left, and he will turn the opposite direction I want him to.
Yeah, he's like tank controls on
He
that,
is,
because
yes.
otherwise you lose the ability to go up and down. Like left and right has to be either left or right relationally. So it becomes a little cumbersome. I remember turning the gyro on. I actually used the gyro.
It helps. It helps a lot having that on for
because
the up
tilting
and down.
up and down is really easy to do, and it's not as fast. And like it feels bad to me to play a shooter like Splatoon with gyroscope. Leaf will give me shit for that, but I mean that's just how it doesn't work for me. So it works for a game like Luigi's Mansion.
And I wonder why the vacuum controls are different than the strobe bulb controls or the blacklight controls, because it's the same exact principle that I am holding a button to issue a command. You are letting me look up and down with gyro controls or the stick, but you're not letting me turn my body now for some reason. Like it just doesn't make any sense.
It bottles the mind.
Yes, it does. And as much as I'm enjoying the design of this game and a lot of the boss designs, especially, like, man, there's some amusing ass ghost bosses in this. A lot of these fights are so fucking obtuse.
Yeah, the boss fights I did think were like, not like they were highlight in a spectacle sense, but they were frustrating enough to kind of diminish that feeling of elation of defeating them.
Oh yeah, and then EGAD or whoever or somebody is throwing the same 2 lines of completely unhelpful tutorial text at you.
Use the strobe bulb. It's like, yeah, I'm trying.
No fucking kidding. I need to use the strobe bulb. Yeah, like the fight at the end of the garden floor where he's got that big ass plant and it's really clear I have to use the buzzsaw for something. And there's all of these really big, obvious plants in the ground. So I'm running around like slashing them to pieces thinking like, oh, that's like the weak point. And then he's going to be like, oh no. And then I can like cut the plant open, but no, you have to get it to bite onto the giant conspicuous plants that you can cut to pieces. So that you can then cut the neck of the plant off and then do damage to the actual boss character. And it's like, this is just, yeah. I agree with how you put that. The highlights in terms of spectacle, but very frustrating to play. I don't know what this game scored, but like, I just got to floor number 9, so I'm like 14 or 15 hours into this game because I'm very meticulous with my gem hunting. It's probably like an 82 or an 83 for me.
Yeah, no, this game was charming as hell. I loved the diorama sort of design philosophy through it. But yeah, the bosses were not as good as the rest of the game was, so that kind of pulled it down for me too. And some of the unevenness with the controls. I don't know how you improve the controls though. I hope that they can figure it out a little bit better in the next game, but there's definitely going to be Luigi's Mansion 4. This game sold like 12 million copies. Like,
It's
yes,
fun.
There's going to be more. Yeah,
Give
it's
me
great.
another.
It's a lovely series. It's like a one of a kind. There's not really games like this. The closest I can think of is maybe like Little Nightmares, which is like a indie game that sees a lot of success doing similar things, like diorama kind of vibes. But yeah, Luigi's Mansion 3 fucking rips. I think it's the best game in the series.
I was gonna ask because you had pitched this for the top 100. I take it after hearing Chris that this probably will not be on the altar.
It's easily better than 1. I don't like see why it shouldn't just supersede it completely. I mean, if you think that 1 is better, you haven't played 1 recently.
I haven't, and that's part of it. Is I would have to go back and take a peek at how that feels, and especially how it controls.
Yeah. There's some things that it does better, like it being shorter is a pro as much as it is a con, like I guess, because it's like you just do the thing and then you're done. But also the design of the house is like uninteresting.
Yeah, it's really
completely.
samey. Yeah.
And it relies a lot on boss fights, which were better, but like it doesn't, I'm not interested in that, I guess. And then I don't know. It's cool that the money matters in Luigi's Mansion 1. In 3, it's mostly just like a way to divvy out hints for gems or buying like dog bones for your Polterpup or whatever, but it's not really too much beyond that.
Yeah.
It's just fun to have the number go up. Like, it's just fun to vacuum up curtains
Yeah.
and get gold bars flying everywhere. You're just like, what the fuck? This is
Bling,
a
bling,
weird
bling,
hotel.
bling, bling.
The Last Resort. Also a great name.
So good. I mean, it sounds great. The sound design is delicious. I love
the
every
music.
gold bar I pick up. Oh yeah. Oh, all the little tunes and blips and bloops and how it sounds.
Good sound design.
Goes a long way. So yeah, I could definitely be convinced to put that in over 3 or over 1, but then I would maybe want to reconsider where it sits overall then. I don't remember where it is. It's in like 60s or 70s.
We'll get to that bridge once we get there. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Indeed, we'll get to it when we get there. Thanks, Dad. We'll get there when we get there. Tell me about this
I'm
indie.
really good at phrases.
You're so good. Your phraseology's top notch. Tell me about this indie game that you wanted to say for the pod. I really want to hear about this.
Yeah, so I purchased this game. I should have bought it when it was available in limited run, but I got it secondhand, so I ended up paying a little bit extra for it. Unfortunate. Oh well. This game is Unsighted. It came out 2021, I believe. It's a top-down pixel art, Zelda-like, I guess you could say. But the whole premise of it is that you have limited time. And the characters around you have limited time. And time passes by, not in real time. It's everyone's lifespan is listed to you in hours, and those hours pass by in minutes. So when someone has 100 hours left of their life, and they are a useful NPC that you buy things from, or that you can enhance your relationship with them to get a better reward with a very limited currency, it turns into a bit of a juggling tension of like, who am I going to prolong their life? The character that follows me around is my Navi, or the character that upgrades my weapons and makes me do more damage, or the character that I buy chips from that are like the equivalent of a Paper Mario badge system. So it turns into this very stressful push and pull. And also, when you die, you lose a set amount of hours. When you respawn, you have less hours than when you were first killed. And you will die pretty frequently in this game. It is a probably similar difficulty to Hyper Light Drifter, maybe a little bit easier. It feels like the progression is more closer to like a Metroid, as far as you're getting cool weapons and upgrades that enhance your ability to traverse the world, and that allows you to go to areas that you couldn't get to before. So like a Zelda or a Metroid, but it feels more like Metroid than it does a Zelda, like in the way that you get these movement-based abilities. It feels like a lot of them are.
Is this like a roguelite? Like you say you're running out of time. How do you get more time? What happens if you run out of time? You is it like...
I don't know what happens when you run out of time. I haven't gotten to that point yet.
Oh, interesting.
You find these chests, and it's just a drop that you get that gives 24 hours of life to these characters. The premise of this game is that it is a post-apocalypse. You are robot automatons. The humans fucked up the entire world, as they are wont to do. There was a war, and your life, your cognizance, your humanity as a robot is determined by how much of this stuff this unobtainium anima is inside of you, and there's a fixed amount of it. So when you run out of that, you become what is called unsighted. You become a zombie robot. You become lifeless. You're just a monster. You're just a thing that kills and has no consciousness, no conscience, as it were.
When characters die, 'cause in my mind, I'm picturing this as like a roguelite. Like
It's not.
You're doing
It's
a
a
run,
Zelda.
and then so when characters die, are they replaced by a character who does something similar? Like what happens if all your characters die and you
Then you have a very empty hometown. So yeah, that is very interesting. And they have like a baby mode that turns that off, but they tell you, they say like, yeah, this is made so that when characters die, you lose them. And to have that experience and to have that, make you make that choice. Making choices like that is, I think, essential to the experience.
progression is tied to these people who can disappear from your game forever, which seems like kind of
Progression is not tied to them being alive or not.
so buying items and like
This is just a thing you can buy. If you didn't have a shop in Zelda, would you still be able to beat the game? Yeah. You just might be struggling a little bit to get as many bombs. You'd have to go find them as opposed to buying them from some dude. So it turns into that push and pull. Like, who do you value? Do you value the guy who can upgrade your sword, or do you value the person who can, like I said, sell you those chips or help you upgrade your ability to equip more chips, change your loadouts, that kind of stuff? Or who do you just like? You just like this person, And they all have like their, who are you trying to wife up? But yeah, it's got a cool sort of push and pull to it. I love with these games the different things they'll do to upgrade your traversal abilities. This game does something I think a lot better than, say, Hyperlight or Crosscode or Tunic or Death's Door, where you get a jump and is a top-down game, like a not top-down, but three-quarters view Zelda-style game with a jump. And suddenly you're like jumping over gaps. You're doing platforming challenges. You're hitting switches, and then these pillars will appear, and you jump and you vault. You like clamber on top of them, so you have verticality. And I think I really like verticality in games like this. Like that was a really cool part of Crosscode. Chris can attest to that. Like these platforming challenges, these like little speed run things that you activate, and then you have to run through, and it's like this really engaging and tantalizing and addicting thing that you have to defeat. You can't leave until you defeated it. But also, every minute you spend fucking up on this thing, people are dying out there. You have to go back to them. You have to bring them meteor dust. Like you have to be better with your time. So it's that really interesting push and pull between like screwing off and exploring for hours on end and like actually getting stuff done because you have to keep these people alive. You want to, at least.
I'm so triggered by you mentioning the race challenges in Crosscode, just as an aside. And I did them all, baby.
Yeah, you did.
Unsighted, I am familiar with this game. Pretty darn familiar with this game because back in the day when I was still a daily Kotaku reader, they fucking loved this game. It was on almost all of their like best games of the year list. And the frame of reference from which some of the staff was writing about it was from a place of either their trans identity or their physical disabilities, that the limited amount of time constantly needing more of these materials to like maintain the self and keep the self going, like really fucking resonated with them from a place of chronic illness. Or from the trans experience. So that was like my understanding, was that it was like fucking dope ass Metroidvania game where you don't have enough time, you're gonna lose people, it's gonna fucking hurt. And that's kind of like essential to the story, like you said, Nick, of making those choices. I'm glad that you brought this back up because that's a game that I was like, oh, I'd probably really like this, and then just had completely forgotten about. And I bet I really will. It's gonna give me a lot of anxiety. I see why you're saying, Nick, that EJ, this is not a game for EJ, because yet that's just like an anxiety paralysis right there.
It's exploring and getting lost, and you're ruining it if you're getting lost, and that's the feeling that I know EJ would have while playing this game. So do not play this, EJ. But Chris, definitely play this.
I love how it's like you've got the Chris recommendations and you've got the EJ do not play. It's like it's two very distinct like hold
There's
up
a Venn
a
diagram
sign
there.
Whoop, whoop.
A go, no go.
Good to know.
Also, really good soundtrack, really chill, minimal sort of piano and really cool choices of instruments. It's like jazz. It's sad synthwave kind of, like, not really. There's like rockin' ass guitar stuff for like the boss fights, and like it's very small accompaniments, like a single piano with a bass, or a single piano and not accordion, but a harmonica, like that kind of jazz, and just somber. But also you go and you collect these dogs. You have these dogs fighting with you, and they go back to the robot guy who takes care of the dogs. The problem is this robot guy, he's like a weird spider creature. Like, think of the weird baby head with the legs from Toy Story. Think that. But he really loves dogs. He's like, man, I wish I could pet these dogs, but I can't. I've got these crazy spider legs, and I would kill them if I pet them. So I'm like trying to build myself hands. But I will take care of these dogs for you. I can feed them, but I cannot pet them, but I want to pet them. And that's Tobias's story. That sad sack of shit.
Terrifying.
Anyway, a lot of characters like that, where it's like, I don't know what your deal is, but I want to keep you alive. Like, you're struggling. I get it. We out here, you know? We're all struggling.
Yeah.
You see the struggle,
Damn.
and you're doing what you can.
Yeah. Also, really good combat. You know, I haven't even mentioned like the actual gameplay, but like, you know, you got sword, guns, multiple. You can equip two things, so you can choose. Okay, I've got the sword, which is like my bread and butter. You got axe. That's like more of a slow swing, heavy hit, big reward. You've got guns. You've got a big shuriken that you can like control with the right stick after you throw it. You get a hook shot. Like, there's like a lot of different things that you get. So your arsenal is plentiful, and it is very much a parry game. Like, your enemies will wait their turn to hit you, but you have to parry them because they'll put them into a critical weakness state, and you will actually do damage, because otherwise you're kind of just mashing and hitting them, and you might get hit, and then you're screwed.
I'm trying to brute force it, brother. Enough with the nuance.
You can if you get better weapons. You can kind of get yourself to that point. You got to upgrade yourself to get there, though. You're not getting there out the chute.
Well, spoiler alert for our next podcast, we're going to be talking about a little game called Spider-Man 2018, which may or may not have the level of nuance in its combat that Nick would like out of a game.
Some people really like that game.
2 of them will be on this podcast.
Dude, I was laying in bed last night, and I like looked over at Sarah. I said, "Holy shit, Spider-Man comes out in like 6 weeks." I'm just so pumped for that game, dude. I can't wait. I hope it's everything is touted as being. Anyway, Chris, you have to get out of here, so let's run a countdown. Nick, you and I can keep talking for half an hour if you want. Or we can just wrap it up and hang out while I eat my tacos. Nick doesn't like talking to me without
We
Chris
did it
around
all.
to
No, I
dunk
like
on
talking
me.
to you. I like having an audience for when I'm talking shit to you, EJ. That's very
It's
true.
true. It's
You
otherwise
know
it's just
me. You know me so well.
mean-spiritedness. Like, when you add the third
Yeah.
person, that's what. Nick, did you see, just real quick before we count out here, did you see that a 4 LP box set of the whole ass Hades soundtrack is fixing to drop?
Yeah, it's like a super giant greatest, I guess, for all their games, right? It's for Bastion, Transistor, their Wizard game, and for Hades. I think it's for all their games. I can't remember the Wizard basketball one. No one knows. It's impossible to know.
Transistor fucks, dude.
Go away. Shut
Transistor
up.
is a great
Stop.
soundtrack for sure.
Siri,
What?
turn your ass off. God damn it.
I thought he was talking to us. I was like, God damn, dude.
No,
I know you had to leave
literally-
at 6,
I'm
but
sorry.
I don't have a fucking clue what I said that sounded like her name, but just was recording everything that I'd said for the last like 90 seconds and then was reading back the entire fucking transcript to me. I was like, I did not ask for this, nor did I need it anyway. Did you see the LP box set?
yeah, Nick just monologued about it while you were listening to Siri talk at you.
It looks so fucking good. Like, gorgeous slipcase art. Like, 4 records. It's so fucking expensive though. I cannot afford it. But I want it so bad.
That's one of those things that if I get really into one of those games next year, I'll regret not having bought the LP when I had the chance. I try not to buy too many video game soundtracks.
Oh, yeah. Limited edition of 1,000, and it's for $300.
Yeah, nah, I'm out on that. I only buy like really like either games that I have a really special connection with, you know, the Skyrims of the world, or I did buy the Risk of Rain soundtrack just because it was so batshit and different and
Dude, it fucks.
wacky. I was like, I have to get it.
I own one, and that is Mega Man X. I would like to own Metroid Prime, and I would very happily own Hollow Knight if I saw it at a price I liked, but I haven't yet.
Give me Shovel Knight. I need that one. A modern classic.
Yeah, that dude like came up on the scene, the demo scene for Game Boy Color, doing songs for Way Forward back in the day, OG Shantae and stuff like that. OC
Yeah.
Remix. I can't remember the composer's name, but
Jake
yeah, he
Kaufman.
fucking rips. Yeah, Kaufman. Jake.
That soundtrack's unimpeachably excellent. All right, I'm gonna mute you, Jake.
Console Crusade podcast. Thanks, guys.